We're going to kick straight off on the subject of health. Our children, of course, the most important thing in the world, but apparently babies are not safe, Debbie.
Yes, and I do want to kick off with excess deaths. And I want to remind people of a story that we have run before with regards to children. This was in the Telegraph in May, and it's suggesting that there was a baby death cluster and that children are dying of unusual infections, including babies. There was one baby death. Now, we know that the WHO has already said that myocarditis in children and babies is on the rise. Why? This is very, very rare. So I decided to go and look and see what the British Heart Foundation say. Now, the British Heart Foundation say that every 5 minutes, someone's admitted to a UK hospital due to a heart attack. Now, can I just remind you that the BHF is a research charity. And many people have done lots of fundraising for the British Heart Foundation, marathons and coffee mornings, and they've got a whole network of charity shops as well up and down the country. So I thought I'd go and have a little look and see who was on the board of the trustees at the British Heart Foundation. And it didn't take me long to find some names that I was familiar with, including Professor Sir Munir Mohammed, who we've spoken about many times before. He is the chair of the Commission of Human Medicines, who advised the MHRA, and we see now that he has a specialist interest in cardiovascular. The rest of the trustees, if anybody wants to go and have a look, you'll recognise names from the pharmaceutical companies, biopharma companies. All of them will be familiar names to you. But let's go and have a look at what they spend their money on and how much money they get in. And you'll be shocked to know that they have had 148% rise in income. That's gone from 57 million to 142 million. So strong financial reserves. Where's all that money coming from? Is it coming from your coffee morning? Is it coming from your marathon? 410 million pounds current research portfolio. Now, I can tell you, I've been into the British Heart Foundation's research portfolio. Not one study for vaccine injuries, not one. But there is a study to extend the vaccine. So with 480 principal investigators, I wonder how many are for vaccine injuries. I suspect none. So let's go and look at the donors. Let's think big, as they say. And you can see a number of donors there, but in particular, I've marked there the Masonic Charitable Foundation, there's Moondance, and there's the Rose Trees Trust. But you can see the research grants that they're giving to the universities are huge. All of this money that you're donating appears to be going to the universities. But what else are they spending it on, the British Heart Foundation? Well, they're spending it on virtual reality. So we've got the game of life here. Now, this is meant to create a VR, virtual reality model of each individual heart. That's very reassuring to know, isn't it? And then we've got Revive R, which is this big campaign to support defibrillators being rolled out in the country pretty much everywhere. Why? But what else are the British Heart Foundation into? And it didn't take long to find that they're also roped into the sustainable goals and the sustainable progress. And they're talking about electric cars, recycling through their shops, using, getting rid of plastic bags and bringing in recycling bins. So they're even involved in the sustainable progress. And who else is involved in the British Heart Foundation? Well, there's another familiar figure, Sir Patrick Vallance. Who better than to chair the Big Beats Challenge, which has had £30 million research grant for new treatments to halt, reverse or prevent conditions that cause sudden death. Now, let's not forget that Sir Patrick Vallance was instrumental for writing the 100-Day Mission, where everything gets rolled out very, very quickly. So I then went and looked at an article in The Guardian where it appears that health bosses are very concerned with the excess deaths and the excess numbers of heart disease that are happening now in the country. Well, who are these health bosses? So this is Dr. Sonia Babunarayan from the British Heart Foundation. So we're getting more than 500 deaths a week. People dying needlessly from heart disease, heart attacks and strokes. 96,540 extra cardiovascular related deaths since March 2020. So what's changed? Because if it's not COVID, because the next article you can see that it's apparently the British Heart Foundation are saying, well, you've got to have your vaccine. It's really safe to have your vaccine. So can they explain the vaccine? Are they doing any research into the vaccine? And if we flip to the next slide, you can see that, again, the British Heart Foundation are very troubled about all of these deaths that are taking place. But it doesn't seem to be that anybody is taking any notice of the vaccine injuries. So then moving on again to the next slide, we can see these are the reasons. Well, it's not COVID. It's not the virus, according to the Sun. It could be the NHS crisis. Or is it the virus? Well, what else could it be? Because some people are saying, no, we've decided it isn't the virus. But actually, you know, it could be because you live near an airport. That could be the reason why you are at a higher risk of a heart attack. And if you don't live near an airport, then perhaps it's because it's a Monday. And apparently more heart attacks take place on a Monday. But what I found extremely concerning was the fact that we have been funding defibrillators all around the country for the last few years. And we've now invested another £1 million to get another 1,000 defibrillators into the community. But even more concerning is that these defibrillators are going into schools. Why? Why do schools need defibrillators? This has never been known in before. Children, young people don't have sudden cardiac arrests and suddenly collapse. And yet we see that the defibrillator agenda isn't just for secondary schools. I went and had a look at the gov.uk, and this isn't just for secondary schools. This is for all schools, and it includes nursery schools. It includes play schools. It includes preschools and primary schools. I mean, you know, when did we need all these defibrillators in all of these schools? And these defibrillators are going to be placed near sports halls and sports venues. And I mean, I can't believe it. I can't believe that schools are each having one defibrillator. But now we found out that the secondary school program has been completed and schools don't have just one defibrillator. They have 2 defibrillators. Why? Why are we seeing this sudden rise in young deaths, in athletes dying? Why? Why aren't the British Heart Foundation investigating vaccine injury? Where is your money going to?
Well, you're asking, of course, all the right questions. Perhaps we should just throw an answer back that nobody is looking into the safety aspects of the vaccine. And I find it incredible when you mention a name there, Dr. Pir Mohammed, who was one of the key figures supposedly monitoring the safety of the nation. It appears that he is still not interested, or is that unfair?
It's absolutely perfectly fair. I have contacted, as all of our regular audience will know, Professor Munir Pir Mohammed many, many times. He does not accept that the vaccine is a causal effect of all the injuries that we're seeing now, and he's pretty much shut me down.
Okay, Debbie, thank you for that.